ritualism. Viniji Agarwal is an author of The Modern Genre who has an acclaimed style of critical writing. He is an engineer from IIT Delhi with a postgraduate degree in management. After a brief stint in the corporate sector, he went on to become an IPS officer. He has held various important posts in the government of Maharashtra, Central Bureau of Investigations, and Government of India. He is also a proud recipient of the prestigious President's Police Medal for meritorious services. His first novel, Romance of a Naxalite, very interesting name, is based on his experiences in Gadchiroli, where he fought Naxalism as superintendent of police. His second book, On the Eve of Kaliyug, is a poetry drama and has been awarded by the Poesis Society and has been adapted into a popular television serial. Hinduism Beyond Ritualism is his third book, and I invite the author to speak about the journey of this book, Shri Viniji Agarwal.
Ladies and gentlemen, because of certain reasons, this program was slightly delayed, but I am extremely grateful to the Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Honorable Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Shri Ajit Pawar, who has kindly consented to inaugurate my book. I am also grateful to ACS Home Shri Sitaram Kunde, who is present here, and all of you, especially the friends from media in large number, who have come here to cover this program. Actually, when I started, when I was a child, I also used to have certain questions, like what is this universe all about? Who made it? What is beyond this universe? Who is God? Who created it? What happens after death? These are all the questions, and we thought that maybe after our studies we'll be able to understand it. Went to school, went to college, did my post-graduation, but could not find the answers for these metaphysical questions. And of course, after joining the police service, the chances for finding the answer for metaphysical questions became very remote. But then, when I crossed 50, I realized that now I'm on the other side. And then I decided to go to the market and get all the scriptures and decided to read them. But these were very thick books, scary. So I decided to go for the Bare Act. And I took some very, very thin-looking books, and actually I found that all the scriptures in original text are very small. Some are 50 verses, 70 verses, and most of the commentaries are actually lengthy commentaries which are based on the author's own interpretation. But if you see what is the actual content, it is very limited. Now, some people say that rituals are important because it increases devotion to duty, devotion to God, and then devotion is necessary for spiritual advancement. But I feel that there is also, devotion is not sufficient. You need to have some spiritual knowledge, and without that, salvation is not possible. This is what the scriptures say. And if I quote Ramayana, it happens that in Ayodhya, when Ram came back after defeating Ravana, he asked Hanumanji that why does he not spend some time to find out what is written in scriptures. And he said, no, I am a devotee and I don't believe in reading scriptures and wasting time in reading scriptures. Lord Rama said that you may be a very stout devotee and you are a perfect devotee, but this devotion is not sufficient. So you must actually read some scriptures. So he said, okay sir, you just give me minimum, what minimum I can read. So he said, okay, you read Manduk Upanishad. Manduk Upanishad is got only 12 verses. So he says, Manduk is like a frog. The meaning of Manduk is frog. So you move from one place to another without treading the path. And Lord Hanuman started reading Manduk Upanishad, those 12 verses. Now Manduk Upanishad says that this whole universe has got a sound which is the sound of origin, which started at the time of Big Bang, which is the sound of Om. And this sound is there in the universe, in the cosmos. And if you start generating that sound and start concentrating on it, then you will be able to achieve salvation. So Manduk Upanishad says that Om has got 4 parts. Pa, O, Ma, and then the silence. And then these 4 parts are linked to the 4 parts of time. That is the past, the present, the future. And then that part where there is no time, timelessness. And these 4 parts are again linked to the 4 parts of consciousness, which is the awakening state, the Jagrat Sthan, the sleeping state, the Swapna Sthan, where you have dreams. And then the state where you don't have dreams but you're sleeping, that is the Sushupti. And finally, where the intellect, the mind, everything stops, that is the state of Turiya. So these are the 4 parts of Om, 4 parts of consciousness and 4 parts of time. And if you concentrate on it, then you will be able to achieve salvation. And that is how it is said that Hanuman attained salvation. Now this is not something which I am just saying it like that or cooking it up. It is written in the scriptures, and in 1978, there is a place called New Jersey. And 2 scientists, they were erecting some sort of a astronomical antenna, podium antenna, to receive the radio waves. And they found that there was some disturbance which was coming in the antenna. So they called a large number of astrophysics professors to find out what is this disturbance. And finally, those were the days of Cold War. So there were a lot of apprehensions also. And finally, Princeton University came in and they decided to go threadbare, and they found out after research of a few months that actually that sound is a universal sound. It is pervading the whole cosmos. And that sound, they say, originated at the time of the Big Bang. And they went back and calculated the age of the universe as 13.8 billion years. In 1978, these 2 scientists, Brescia and Wilson, they got Nobel Prize for Physics for finding out this universal sound which is there in the cosmos. Now, this theory of Big Bang, which we see in physics, there is a similar theory in Sankhya Karika, which is given by sage Kapila. And this says that there is Big Bang, but it is not only the energy which got converted into matter, but there were 2 entities, the consciousness and the energy. The consciousness was Purush, that was the male, and the energy was female, that was the Prakriti. And this collision caused the Prakriti to divide into 3 parts. That is the Sattvic, the Rajasic and the Tamasic. The Sattvic, as we know, is positive. The compassion, the kindness, it all comes from the Sattva. The neutral part, that is the Rajasic, is the ambition. And the Tamasic, as we all know, is the negative energy, which causes the laziness, cruelty, selfishness. Now these 3 components of Prakriti got further divided into 5 parts. So from the Sattvic part came the 5 sources of the 5 Jnanendriya, the senses of knowledge. Power to see, power to hear, power to feel, power to taste, power to smell. From the neutral part, that is the Rajasic part, came the 5 Karmendriya, which are neutral. For example, power to speak, power to reproduce, power to hold, power to digest, power to locomote. And from the 5 and the Tamasic energy came the 5 subtle elements. And from the subtle elements came the 5 gross elements. These are the Iti, Jal, Pavan, Gagan, Samit. That is the solid, liquid, gas, vacuum and plasma. So in Sankhya philosophy they counted everything. 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 4. And that is 24. And then they say that this is Sankhya Yoga and Sankhya is Sankhya. So that is how this Sankhya Yoga came. Now Big Bang, while it is related only to the origin of matter from energy, this Sankhya philosophy, if you have time, you must go through it. It explains the origin of the universe in such a beautiful way. It takes care of the energy, the consciousness, the evolution, the development, everything. It's a very holistic story. Now, why there's a difference? Why we are not going towards what is written in scriptures, and why we are only going towards what is taught to us by way of derivation and mathematics and science, laws of science. That is because knowledge is two types. One type is the energy, which is the knowledge about the manifested world. That is the avidya. That is not vidya. That is avidya. And the other type is the knowledge about the unmanifested world. That is the vidya. So, Upanishad says that knowledge is required, both types of knowledge is required, vidya as well as avidya. So there should be a proper mix of both vidya and the avidya. These days we find that parents are very particular about the students, their people, their wards, their children getting good marks, good score in GRE, getting a seat in IIT, getting a seat in medical examination. But that is not very important. And in this used to happen 2000 years ago also. So there is a story in Aitreya Upanishad. Aitreya was the son of a man who wanted to have a very worthy son. But Aitreya was not very good in conventional studies. So he never got good marks in those conventional subjects. Those were grammar and phonetics and astrology. Those were the subjects compared to our physics, maths, chemistry. And he got very poor marks, and then the teacher said that he is not very good in studies and he should be asked to do some other vocational work. So the father was very unhappy. He decided to marry again. He married again and he got 4 worthy sons. Aitreya used to live with his mother Yatara in a different house. One day he found that his mother Yatara was trying to commit suicide. Then Aitreya explained that you must understand that the knowledge of two types, knowledge which is of the manifested world, which is avidya, and knowledge of the unmanifested world, which is vidya. So don't get carried away by what you see in the world. The actual knowledge is avidya, and I am good at it. And he explained. And he explained the famous theory which is described as 210. So when the soul is all alone, it has got no body, it is zero, no body, free soul. And when it enters a mother's womb, it is encapsulated by 2 bodies, the fetal body and the body of the mother. And then after the birth, the umbilical cord is broken and there is only one body, that is the body of the child. And then the child grows up and dies. And then again, soul is free. So he said, this is the actual jnana, this is the actual knowledge which you must try to understand. And instead of learning, you must try to experience. Because the actual knowledge is based on experience and not based on learning. And that is how came the Mahavakya in Hindu scriptures, in Hindu philosophy. There is Prajnanam Brahma. This prajna, this knowledge of this rotation of soul from one body to another, this is actually the real jnana, and this jnana only is Brahma. There is no other Brahma. This jnana is Brahma. Now, Brahma also, you must have seen picture of Lord Brahma. People are worshipping it. But actually, worshipping of Brahma is not allowed. There is supposed to be no temple of Lord Brahma, because Brahma is supposed to be an illusion. It is the word Brahma which has now been called Brahma. So you see that a man is sitting on a lotus. How can a man sit on a lotus? The lotus will squeeze. But it is just to say that he is a man who is the creator of the universe. He has got no mass. This universe has got no mass. It is massless. It is an illusion. He has got 4 heads on all the 4 sides. So he says that there is no direction. There is a concept of space, of direction. Is also an illusion. That is how this was a form called pictography. In Hinduism, in pictography, they try to explain, they try to tell the concepts by way of pictures. because words can change, language can become corrupted, but pictures will remain in the true form. But somehow it happened that they also turned into rituals. So these are some very interesting things which you find in my book, which I've written. Basically, I decided to read this, and I was breaking down my notes, and I came across some very interesting facts. And then I decided to convert these notes into a book. In this book, you will find all the Upanishads, the Chandogya Upanishad, the Brahmana Upanishad, the Mudra Upanishad, Munda Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, Kat Upanishad. And this is a book of only 250 pages. It has got 30 chapters. So it is a digested small course, digest, where you can actually go through it and know what is the gist. And then there are question and answers also, so that you understand the question, the subtle points of the theory. I am extremely grateful to the Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Shri Ajit Pawar, who has kindly consented to come here in spite of his busy schedule. I know there's an important meeting going on, but still he left the meeting and came here for this program. I'm extremely grateful. I'm extremely grateful to ACS Home, Shri Sitaram Kunde, and I'm also thankful to all of you who have come here for the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a question for you all. As Indians, we all are very much proud of our old scriptures like Vedas and Upanishads. But how many of us have really gone through those scriptures? On the other hand, almost all of us have gone through some or the other rituals. I think this is the book which is going to tell us the essence of Hinduism. And indeed, we all are really eager to read this book. Now I would love to invite Ms. Sharmila Vaz to read a para from this book. Sharmila ji.
Good evening, all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Srivini ji, to allow me to read this little para from the chapter Feminine Energy. I'm honored to do so. Here it goes. The Hindu philosophy believes that the ego of an individual is the biggest demon. It needs to be destroyed with the willpower. This willpower is also a form of female energy, which is depicted in the picture of goddess Durga, sitting on a tiger. The story goes that there was a notorious demon who was considered to be invisible because he had the ability to change his form. There was a battle between goddess Durga and the demon, in which the demon kept on changing his form to defend himself. At the end, when the demon was in the form of a buffalo, the goddess identified him and killed him. The Sanskrit word for buffalo is Mahisha, and so this demon is known as Mahishasur. In this allegorical tale, the demon is the ego that hoodwinks the mind as well as the intellect. The intellect does not realize that it is being used to build the logic for justifying the acts that are primarily to satisfy the ego. The mind is unable to see through the camouflage built by the ego, as the ego keeps shifting the perspective to justify itself. The decisions are primarily taken by the ego, but the intellect is convinced that it is the most logical thing to do. This technique of shifting the logic and perspective has been depicted by the demon who keeps changing his form. However, Goddess Durga, who represents the willpower, identifies the ego when it is in the strongest form, that is, the form of a buffalo. The story tells us that in the battle between the ego and the willpower, the ego keeps changing its form as per conveniences, keeps having its way and gets stronger and stronger. But with the increasing strength, the ego also loses its ability to camouflage itself. Finally, when the ego is in its most powerful state, it is identified and destroyed by the willpower. This para will be well explained by our multi-talented and versatile author, Shri Vineet Ji, to all of you. Thank you for this privilege.
Thank you so much, Sharmila Ji.
अतिरिक्त मुख्य सचिव मिस्टर सीताराम कुंटेजी ज्यांनी हे पुस्तक लिहिलेले विनीत अग्रवाल, सर्व उपस्थित प्रतिष्ठित नागरिक बंधू खरं तर राज्याचे प्रमुख या नात्याने ज्योती ठाकरे साहेब या पुस्तकाचं प्रकाशन करणार होते. आज कॅबिनेट होती, परंतु काही महत्त्वाचं काम निघाल्यामुळं CM साहेबांना तुमच्या कार्यक्रमात जावं लागलं. त्याबद्दल मी सुरुवातीला दिलगिरी व्यक्त करतो. माझी वर मीटिंग बजेट आहे तारखेला, अधिवेशन सुरू होत आहे, त्याच्यामुळे फायनान्सच्या माझ्या मीटिंग चाललेल्या आहेत. विनीतजी तिथं आले, त्यांनी मला पहिल्यांदा इन्व्हिटेशन दिलेलं होतं की अशा प्रकारचं एक पुस्तक मी लिहिलेलं आहे आणि त्याचं प्रकाशन मुख्य त्यांच्या शुभास्ते केलं जाणार आहे. आपण त्या कार्यक्रमाला या. एक गोष्ट खरी आहे, आपण कुठल्याही क्षेत्रामध्ये जरी काम करत असलो, बरे तुम्ही IAS असाल, IPS असाल किंवा उद्योगपती असाल किंवा व्यापारी क्षेत्रात असाल, शेतीच्या क्षेत्रात असाल, कुठलंही क्षेत्र असलं तरी त्या व्यक्तीच्या मनामध्ये कुठेतरी लेखक लपलेला असला तरी स्वतःच्या व्यापारातून स्वतःच्या कामातून वेळ काढून तो त्याच्या मतामध्ये असणारं जे काही लिहायचं असतं तेच माझ्या पुस्तकामध्ये आणण्याचा प्रयत्न करतो. आमचे विनीतजी तसं बघितलं तर IIT दिल्लीचे इंजिनियर, तिथून त्यांनी IPS मध्ये स्वतः जायचं ठरवलं आणि त्या क्षेत्रामध्ये देखील त्यांनी अतिशय चांगल्या प्रकारचं काम केलं. जवळपास पहिली 2 पुस्तकं त्यांची निघालेली आहेत, आज हे 3रं पुस्तक आहे. मी सुरुवातीलाच आपल्या सगळ्यांच्या साक्षीनं हिंदुइझम बियॉन्ड रिच्युअलिझम या पुस्तकाचं विनीत अग्रवालांच्या प्रकाशन झालं असं जाहीर करतो. हे बुक फॉर ऑल हिंदूज अँड नॉन हिंदूज. आज खऱ्या अर्थाने देशाला अशा प्रकारच्या पुस्तकाची गरज आहे. आपण बघतो आपले अनेक जाती धर्माचे लोक पुण्यागोविंदानं वर्षानुवर्ष देशाला स्वातंत्र्य मिळाल्यापासून राहतात, परंतु काही जण जाणीवपूर्वक कुठेतरी 2 समाजामध्ये तेढ कशी निर्माण होईल, त्याच्यातच स्वतःचा राजकीय स्वार्थ कसा साधता येईल, डेव्हलपमेंटचा विचार करायच्या ऐवजी 21व्या शतकामध्ये आपण सगळेजण गेलेलो असताना त्याला कुठेतरी बगल द्यायची आणि जाती जातीमध्ये काहीतरी अंतर पाडण्याचा प्रयत्न करायचा, कुठेतरी लोकांच्या भावना भडकवण्याचा प्रयत्न करायचा. हे काम मधून आजही समाजामध्ये होत असताना आपल्याला दिसतंय. पण शेवटी आपण सगळेजण भारतीय आहोत, इंडियन या नात्याने प्रत्येक जण आपापल्या पद्धतीनं चांगलं काम करण्याचा प्रयत्न करतो. फारशी बोटं काही सारखी नसतात, परंतु जे चुकीचं वागतात त्याच्याकडं दुर्लक्ष करून चांगल्या विचाराची कास धरून आपण सगळ्यांनी पुढे गेलं पाहिजे. आणि हाच विचार, कारण आत्ताच मी तुमच्या सगळ्यांच्या पुढे त्याचं प्रकाशन केलेलं आहे, त्याच्यामुळं त्याच्यात आता एक पॅरा त्यांचा वाचून दाखवलेला आहे. 250 पानांचं एक पुस्तक आहे, 30 वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारचे चॅप्टर त्याच्यामध्ये लिहिलेले आहेत आणि ते स्वतः ज्यावेळेस विनीतजी बोलत होते आणि त्याच्या पाठीमागचं सांगत होते काय त्यांचा विचार येतो त्यावेळेस सगळे आपण अतिशय शांतपणे ते ऐकत होतो आणि असे अतिशय एक चांगले कर्तव्यनिष्ठ अशा प्रकारचे अधिकारी त्यांनी लिहिलेले पुस्तक नवीन पिढीला निश्चितपणे प्रेरणा देईल. समाजातल्या सर्व घटकांनी हे पुस्तक घेतलं पाहिजे, वाचलं पाहिजे. अलीकडच्या काळामध्ये वाचनाच्या वर दुर्दैवाने कमी कमी होत चाललेली आहे. त्याला काही कारणं असतील, सोशल मीडिया आहे, बाकीच्या गोष्टी. साधा आपला आयफोन असले हातात तर सगळ्या गोष्टी ताबडतोब आपल्याला उपलब्ध होतात आणि त्याच्यामुळं त्या जरा वाचनाकडं नवीन पिढीचं तरी थोडंसं दुर्लक्ष होत असताना पाहायला मिळत आहे. परंतु अशा प्रकारचे चांगले लेखक ज्यावेळेस एखादं महत्वाचं पुस्तक हिंदूज आणि नॉन हिंदूजच्या करता त्या ठिकाणी लिहितात आणि त्याच्यातून पुन्हा समाज एकसंघ ठेवण्याच्या करता, समाजामध्ये एकोपा वाढवण्याच्या करता त्याचा निश्चितपणे उपयोग होतो. ते स्वतः पोलीस दलामध्ये आहेत. पोलिसांचं कामच आहे कायदा सुव्यवस्था चांगल्या पद्धतीशी राखणं. त्यांनी गडचिरोलीच्या परिसरात नक्षलवाद जिथं आहे त्या ठिकाणी देखील काम केलेले. जी जबाबदारी सरकार देईल ती अतिशय उत्तम प्रकारे पार पाडायची अशा प्रकारचा आजपर्यंत विनीत अग्रवालजींचा नावलौकिक आहे आणि तशाच प्रकारचं त्यांचं आजपर्यंतचं काम आहे. या पुस्तकाच्याही माध्यमातून निश्चितपणे आपल्याला सगळ्यांना एक नवीन विचार त्याच्यातनं ऐकायला मिळणार, वाचायला मिळणार आहे. त्याबद्दल मी व्यक्तिशः माझ्या वतीनं, तमाम महाराष्ट्रातल्या जनतेच्या वतीनं आमच्या विनीत अग्रवालांचं मनापासून कौतुक करतो, मनापासून अभिनंदन करतो आणि पुढं पण चौथे पुस्तक त्यांचं आपल्या सगळ्यांच्या पुढे यावं अशा प्रकारची अपेक्षा व्यक्त करतो. तशा प्रकारच्या त्यांना शुभेच्छा देतो आणि आपल्या सगळ्यांची रजा घेतो. जय हिंद, जय महाराष्ट्र.
आपल्या शुभेच्छा आणि कौतुकाबद्दल मनपूर्वक धन्यवाद सर. Now I would request our lovely audience to put forth their questions for our author, Vinitji Agarwal. There is a slight change in the program. We can take question answers afterwards. May I request Mr. Harshit Shah, Head of Marketing, Crossword Bookstores, to propose vote of thanks.
महाराष्ट्राचे सन्माननीय उपमुख्यमंत्री श्री अजित पवार येथे उपस्थित राहून लेखक विनीत अग्रवालच्या पाठिंबा म्हणून आपला अमूल्य वेळ, आपले सुंदर विचार आणि वाणीची जी भेट दिली त्याबद्दल सहृदयतेने आपले आभारी आहोत. On behalf of Crossword Bookstores and the Right Place Publishing, I, Harshit Shah, would like to express heartfelt gratitude to Honorable Deputy Chief Minister Shri Ajit Pawar ji for gracing the occasion with his kind presence. And I would also like to acknowledge and thank all the dignitaries present here. Not to forget Honorable Additional Chief Secretary Shri Sitaram Pansek ji and all the lovely audience. So thank you for your august presence here and hope you enjoyed the event. The book is available at your nearest Crossword bookstore and online on www.crossword.in. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra. Thank you.